Friday. All right, it's the summertime, right? And a lot of people are taking a little bit of time off, kind of enjoying the weather. And what does that mean? Substitutes.
Woohoo!
When you're gonna miss your meeting and you're taking a vacation, you know it's coming, right? You have a week or two, hopefully, to prepare for it and to think a little bit about it and to get somebody to come and substitute for you so that when the other people in the room give their commercial, they'll have somebody listening to it. It's kind of the part of the value of the membership, right? So who makes a good substitute, the best substitute? Somebody that can join, right? Think Visitors Day, somebody you'd invite for Visitors Day. Remember the education that we did on Visitors Day where we talked about what you're really trying to get there is the appointment. You don't have to convince them to join, just convince them to come check us out. And use terminology like, if you could do me a favor, or I'm really in a bind, or I could really use your help, and talk to them about the energy and how wonderful it is and that they've got nothing to lose, and they can come help you out one time. If they say no, put on your prospecting hat, right? And you might try saying to them, well, who else do you know who's really good? Who does what you do or something similar? And see if they can't introduce you to another possible sub who could also be a visitor, right? Try to daisy chain it a little bit. You're not just looking for you, you're also looking for them, and think kind of Visitors Day mentality. Who else is a good sub? Let's suppose you can't find somebody there. Who else is a good sub? I heard your mom. Which, that's fine. Right? Somebody who could use our services. Now, my mom would not be a great sub because my mom lives in Philadelphia and there's probably not very many of you who could help her. But if your mom's in town, if you've got a family member or a spouse or significant other or employees of your company or clients who've used other people in the room who can see how this whole thing works, all of those are great opportunities. There you're probably asking them to do you a favor, right? Rather than asking them to come and do something that'll help them build their business. Somebody who's a foreign member, who's not in one of the categories, is a pretty good sub. They already know people in the room. They're not in conflict. That's a decent substitute to bring in as well. Who's acceptable but kind of least preferred?
Somebody we have in here.
Somebody we have in here. You know, if you're going to invite somebody who's already in a category that's already represented, make sure they really understand that they're here to observe and maybe find another chapter and not to prospect, because that can lead to hurt feelings, right? And a lot of times when the person stands up and starts giving a commercial they're not supposed to be giving, nobody in the room is listening. All they're thinking is, wow, you shouldn't be giving this commercial, and how rude is the person who invited you, right? That's what happens in your brain, right? So be fair to that person. If they're coming and doing it as a favor for you, make sure they understand that they're not going to be able to give their commercial. Or also, someone who's in another chapter is less preferred than somebody who's not, right? Because they have other loyalties. They really should be taking their business to the people in that other chapter, not the people here. Does that make sense? So they're still good. They're still better than nobody being here and you being absent. But they're kind of lowest on the totem pole of people you'd like to invite. What if they say no? Well, if they say no and you're struggling, one, who else can you think of who might be a good fit? Meaning, you say to them, who else can you think of who I might talk to who might be able to help me out? Who else might enjoy being a member of our group? Do you know somebody? And grow your network and grow our network a little bit. Second one, I have on 2 occasions gotten stranded in other cities. And I got substitutes both times. How did I do that? Anybody remember? Megan Cutshall should remember. Where's Megan? Facebook. I said on Facebook, hey, I need a substitute for Friday. And I have, I don't know, 500 friends on Facebook, and somebody jumped on it and said, yeah, I'd love to go and attend. And I managed to get a sub that way. So as a last resort, post it on Facebook, and a last resort behind that, absolute positively last resort, Rob Agazarian has a list of a few people who are willing to sub once in a while, and you can give him a shout. It's like last resort, because there's only 4 or 5, and those people are going to get taken advantage of, and they're only allowed to give their commercial twice. Now, the new membership committee policy is twice in a quarter, right? They're only allowed to be here twice before that's used up, so leave that as the last resort for people who really get stranded. But hopefully this will help you get subs, because when somebody gets up to give their 5-minute commercial and there's only half the room filled, it's not really fair to them, right? Do for them what you would want them to do for you. Make sense?
Yep.
Great. Make it a great week. Thanks.